President Trump says he is sticking with a naval blockade of Iranian ports. His comments came after oil prices hit a wartime high amid concerns that the Strait of Hormuz would not reopen anytime soon.
Their economy is crashing. The blockade is incredible. The power of the blockade is incredible. They're not getting any money from oil. And hopefully it can be worked out very soon.
Meanwhile, Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has also cast doubt on the likelihood of a deal, vowing not to give up the country's nuclear or missile technologies. Joining us now is Stuart Livingstone-Wallace, Bloomberg's executive editor for the Middle East, North Africa, and Russia. So, Stuart, we have it there. Both sides seem to be digging their heels in. I wonder if we just start with what we heard from Iran's supreme leader in this statement. What insight did this give you into potentially how the regime is seeing their own stance right now in this conflict?
Yeah, good morning, Jen. So, I mean, it's largely a reiteration of the position we already suspected. But it's interesting that after all these weeks of hostilities, and particularly after a couple of weeks of this blockade, that he doesn't seem to be budging at all. And he's basically drawing a very careful line between national interest, national unity, national priorities, and the nuclear program. That's going to make it very hard for Iranian negotiators to show any wiggle room at all on the nuclear file. On the other hand, you have a US administration that has made it clear that its number one issue beyond Hormuz, the short-term impact of Hormuz, is to sort out what exactly Iran's rights are with regard to nuclear enrichment and the deployment of nuclear materials. So it's very hard to see a way forward based on those two statements we had yesterday, and I'm sure it's not going to give a lot of comfort to anyone, particularly in the oil market or in the shipping industry, or indeed who cares about the global economy, that we're going to get a resolution to this anytime soon.
Exactly. I mean, is there any potential for a diplomatic resolution potentially over the weekend, especially given where both sides are at this point? What is it that we should be watching for as we head into the weekend?
So we know, or we suspect, that the mediators are still working quite hard to try and find some common ground here. And as you know, about a couple of weeks ago, we sort of keep seeing these glimmers that maybe they'll start talking again, and it never seems to get anywhere very far. And then inevitably both sides come out shortly after that and kind of reset those really hard red lines that are very hard to get over. So as we go into the weekend and into next week, what I think we're looking for is, can there be some sort of formula where it looks like Iran retains the right to enrich fuel, but at the same time the US can claim victory and say that there are red lines there, or there are boundaries there that would stop Iran in a verifiable way of ever developing a nuclear weapon. So in some respects, it's sort of back to where we were, arguably about a decade ago, when we came up with the first Iranian nuclear deal and there was verification around it.